Sit down, shut up, and pay attention.
Damn!
This is the Rants of Izzo Show with your host, Dominic Izzo, from porn to politics. We touch every third rail we can find. You might want to put your headphones on so your mom can't hear this. It's been called the most entertaining 60 minutes on the internet, and it starts now. Let's do this.
All right, Rants of Izzo Show here on Spreely Media. Good afternoon. It's coming up on Christmas. If you are still engaging in politics, just shut the fuck up. Why are you bothering? You should be celebrating with your families. Unless you're like me, you don't have a family. We got parents, and I got dad and sibling and all that kind of stuff. I'm live today. I'm live with the gents from the Dumb Don't Unfriend Me show, Matt and Mike. Is it Matt or Matthew or Michael, or how shall I address you guys today?
If the lights are off, it's Matthew. If the lights are on, it's Matt. And with Mike, I don't think he cared.
Yeah, Mikey, legs, whatever you want to go with.
I appreciate you guys hanging out today. It means a lot. I know you guys have been doing shows for quite a while. I watch you. I think this will be a perfect balance, because one of the things that I like about listening to your show is the hypnotic, almost condescending, monotone delivery, the way you guys talk. And it's the complete opposite of me, who's got to be blah, and then you guys are like, calm down, shut up. So I this is a good show.
That was a great backhanded compliment. It felt better than it, though it felt good when it finally hit. So monotone. I would think that that's one of the reasons we have so many viewers, is they like to fall asleep to us often and regular. So
when you do have people like me who, no, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I would say you just don't see the legs flying on the back end. We just keep that to ourselves. That's the only thing you're missing.
Look, can we just get this out the window, because you're going to use this as a crutch the whole fucking show. Mike is a double amputee, okay? So he doesn't have any legs.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know that? Hold on. Watch this.
I don't think you can get it above the banner. There it is. So
we can get here. If Matt back talks, we just throw this out here. So
well, we have that because Matt Couch has been sitting with me for the last couple of weeks since Ashley left. He had to have one of his legs amputated, and he just got his prosthetic like a couple of days ago. So this will be he goes from one. I upgraded to a double amputee. I appreciate you being on.
Exactly. I'm glad you upgraded and you didn't get hit with a little butterfly there.
that's
Actually got a real amputee now.
So
Now that's
go ahead.
no, go ahead. We're going to do a lot of interrupting because it is going to be the audio so clear it is interrupting. Was that service wound injury?
Yeah. So I decided to step on a bomb. I wouldn't recommend it, but it does work out for you.
Holy shit! I mean, way to start a show on a negative story there, where you fucking lost your leg serving our country.
It's all he's got, so we might as well do it now.
Exactly. I mean, whatever. I get a government pension. I got some awesome legs, and I got a free house. Like, I don't care. I'm good with it. I would do it all over again.
Walk him through the story, Mikey. Can we do that real quick?
Yep. So 2010, I was in Afghanistan. One of my jobs was I was the dog handler. So the whole thing was to find IEDs. And I always mess with my seniors because they never told me how to find it. They just said, find it. So obviously I did the best thing I could do, is actually just step on it. Best way that you can get it. Very long story short, it was about a 1.5-year process from when I got blown up till I left the hospital. I think I've had like 40 something surgeries, double above the knee, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. But I mean, it's been 13 coming up on 14 years now. So like, it's like I was 19 when it happened. So it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask the question that's everybody's mind.
Yep.
Can you fuck?
That's what I
Yes.
said. I asked the same.
Okay,
I mean,
that's the thing.
it is one of those, like, doesn't work as well as I would like, but it's functional. But it's definitely a work in progress, and I do a whole bunch of other like shots and shit for it. But
Do you get like women who are just drawn to that kink? They're like, I want a fucking amputee.
I never got the amputee, but definitely the military one. Like that is definitely a thing.
What branch were you in?
Marine Corps. The only real branch to go to.
You were in the good one. Not that other ones aren't, but that's my only regret in life, is I was too much of a pussy to not join the Marines. So thank you for being 10 times more of a man than I ever could be, even though you got both your legs blown off. Holy shit!
Chicago top. That's
Chicago's a lot worse. I would take Afghanistan over Chicago any day.
Well,
So.
I wasn't with CPD. I got the garbage that CPD chased out. CPD and Milwaukee, they came to our town. So we got all that wonderful hood element. But yeah, I mean, if this is going to be a dick measuring contest, you win, hands down. So leave it alone. Fucking leave it alone, dude. You won that one. I'll outrun you, but you definitely fucking win that contest. Let's talk about this for a second. The dumb show, Don't Unfriend Me show. I have to wonder how this came up about, because that's something that massively happened over the last several years. You voice your opinion and anything, and all of a sudden people are unfriending you. I just put up a post the other day that said, I like going through my Facebook memories when they pop up just to see who no longer is a friend of mine that was like 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Is that how this show kind of came to pass with you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty consistent to what everyone's been experiencing. So yeah, I came from the corporate world. So I worked for 3 Fortune 15s and Apple, Comcast, the all politically correct universe. And I went through all the, you're a white male, you're oppressing everybody, you're a racist, you have to go through the Myers-Briggs training. So I went through all that shit and had to quash my opinion for a better part of 15 years if I wanted to keep my stock options. So I went through the rigmarole, I climbed the corporate ladder, and then I just gave it all up. I went to Comcast, turned in my notice, and I started working for veteran-based companies, worked for Flags of Valor and a couple of others out here. And my wife came to me and said, listen, before that change happened, I want to put a Trump banner up on my Facebook page. Is it okay if I do that? And like an officer's wife in the military, same thing with Apple, you have to toe the line. And if the wife does something, it reflects on the leader, or if the husband does something, it reflects on the leader in the corporate world. So I was like, of course you can. I mean, it's express your political opinion. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got a talk show host, and then I've got Hillary fucking Clinton. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but if you know, good for you, do it. So she did. And the godparents of our children, lifelong friends, mentors, business mentors, family, taught their kids how to drive a car, came on and said, I hope Melania and Donald really do inject bleach. That way Barron can actually have parents who care about them and raise up a normal life. And my wife just went on and said, what the fuck? You've kind of mentored me to be a good human being, tolerant of other people. I just expected more from you. And she defriended us, cut us out of the lives. We had to take them off the will because if we died, they got the kids. I mean, it was horrible, a huge separation. So I went online, long story longer, and I did a 30-minute stint, and 10 minutes was on COVID, in my opinion. And I just let loose. Like I just broke the narratives apart on both sides. I called out the unfriending. I think I had 300 friends at that time. It got to like 30,000 views on Facebook, and every single person just kept messaging me, dude, get a show. So I flipped on a piece of shit camera that I had from like 1962 and, started broadcasting, and then the Don't Unfriend Me show was born. So here we are.
Number one, that's impressive that your wife asks you. We do live in a world of feminism where it's like, I don't give a fuck, I'm gonna do what I want. So I mean, not that she has to come to you for permission, but that's damn well admirable. Number two, I've never experienced this. My parents growing up, before Barack Obama, my mother was a Democrat forever, and my father was a Republican. He is a Republican, and there was no arguments. It's just, hey, okay. I remember Carter was my first president, and I remember hearing them argue about Carter at dinner, but it would never got out of shape. Never. I had friends forever who I think I was liberal. There's that saying that if you're under 25, or if you're 25 or under, but you're not a liberal, you have no heart. And if you're 35 and over and you're not conservative, you have no brain. And I know that there was, like I say all the time, I've got liberal empathy. Like the ideas sound good. Does free college sound great? Of course it does. Does free food, free medicine sound great? It sounds great. The side of me is, well, who's going to pay for it? So, and plus I do know the more that you give stuff out for free, the less value you have in it. So I never understood the people who will literally defriend you for reasons of this. I bumped into one of my best friend's father at the grocery store yesterday, and it's a guy I've known since I was 14 years old. All four of us met at 14. We were freshmen in high school, and we've been friends forever. And a couple of years ago, he just defriends me on Facebook, and I've talked to him twice in the last 2 years, both at funerals, and the second to last time was one of our best friend's mothers, and then it was my mother. And the first time it was, so first words out of his mouth at the funeral, you still pissing people off online? And I'm like, dude, this is what this friendship is. I got nothing fucking left for you whatsoever. So I don't know. The title of your show alone is powerful because it's fucking sad. It really is. If that's where we're at in America, I can't stand this where we're at.
Real quick, and then Mike, obviously we're going to try not to talk over each other because all of our systems are giant phallics that take over each other on the show. Liberal policy is usually based upon European models and smaller countries, Scandinavian-based countries, which don't have to pay for defense. And when you literally can take 80% of your overall national budget and stick it in somebody else's back pocket, you have all the luxury in the world to do these great free programs and societal uplifts of free college and universal health care. But as we learned in World War II, when the asshole puckers and somebody needs someone to step up, it's usually the United States or another superpower that has the budget to do so. In fact, we'd all be speaking Sputnik and Japanese and German if it wasn't for the industrial might of the United States. The problem is that this is great in a country of 30 million people, but when you go ahead and you change the demographics and the melting pot that we have and the overall societal norms of not everybody is born at the same level with equity, which is an impossible achievement, you get those snafus, you get those things in the military where you get these roadblocks that stop you from doing it. The only thing you can do is spend more to make up for the stopgap. Social Security is a perfect example. So I'm with you, man. But I don't feel for liberals because it's the same thing I don't feel for conservatives. I'm not a big fan of the leftists, and I'm certainly not a big fan of the alt-right. And I think they make up 8% of the population, which is completely fucking up what we've accomplished in this country. And we listen and give these people way too much airtime, and there's not enough reasonable voices left. So that's another reason we do this. I try to bring reasonable people on my show who understand what it used to be and what it's going to take to get back there, minus all the other blemishes that we had in our country. You know,
I'm curious about that. Yesterday, Matt and I were arguing about the fact that, or it was 2 days ago, he's got 750,000 people following him on Twitter, and I asked him, like, how is this not affecting you personally? Where you go online, you defend Trump all day. I voted for Trump. I don't know if I'm going to even bother to vote this next election because of how petty all sides are. I'm tired. I'm from the Chicago area. My vote doesn't fucking matter. It just doesn't. But I still vote for the fact that I have the right to, all this shit. And I had said, I'm like, you see, everyone's attacking each other at the most petty, vile fucking sake. Somebody put up, and Mike, I'm curious to hear you about this because I've seen it in law enforcement. Somebody put up, they were a Trump supporter, and it's like, for all of those you out there, so who are calling on a civil war, just remember, if it happens, you're going to be facing the most powerful, fierce military in the history of the man. And I'm like, really? These TikTok fucking warriors out there who are wearing lipstick and doing drag shows, and our leaders are wearing skirts? How much of a change have you seen, if you could talk about it, in the military? Because people really need to be terrified with how fucking utterly disastrous our law enforcement is. Is it the same with the military?
So, I mean, there's a couple things with that. Like, do I think we're ever going to get to a point to where it's going to be military on civilians in a civil war? Absolutely not. Like, that's not how it's actually going to, if in the long shot it does, like, that's not how it actually go down. But, like, I saw it when I was in the military. They definitely only care about, like, they want the goody two-shoes staying in. They don't want the people who have the tattoos or have that mindset that they are great deployed. They're the guys that when bullets are flying, that's who you want to follow. But when you go back in the garrison, those are the guys that are going out to the strip clubs, getting in trouble, getting in bar fights, because they're just not good in normal society. But those are your best warriors. And I know when I got out, they kicked out almost everybody that had any experience in Afghanistan. Because I know when we went, we had, out of my 40-person platoon, we had 2 people that actually had combat experience. After that, they kicked all but 3 of them out, I think, that are still in. So, and that's what they do. They just, this cycle keeps happening where you don't have that experience anymore. And then I know, like, Matt and I talked about this, that, like, oh, this big civil war that's happening, like, it's not going to be military on that. It's going to be little factions of the inner city versus the rural or like the counties, like that's going to happen, and there's just going to be lines of debarkation to where the local city cops and National Guard is going to cordon off crap, and then it's going to be everyone else fighting, and then it's going to be someone else coming in and be like, okay, now there's no one else left. That's what you're going to have to deal with. Like, you're going to be fighting your fellow citizens. So it's not going to be this big grand thing that everyone's saying, and all these people that are talking that are these little keyboard warriors. You guys ain't going to do shit.
No,
You're not going to be man enough to actually go out and do anything. So
I don't see it happening either on a level, because I live on a cul-de-sac. I live 20 minutes outside of Chicago, a very liberal city, and no one gives a shit. I say all the time, I live on Senator Tammy Duckworth's cul-de-sac. She's like 5 houses down from me when she's in town. And there's me. There's 2 retired cops from the Illinois State Police who it's her driver when she's in town. A family from India who moved in next door, the best fucking neighbors I've ever had. Across the street is a Polish family. We have so many liberal people. It's amazing, but we all get along. There's no problems. And I keep trying to tell people, so you have to have the mindset, God forbid a war comes here, or even socialism. Does that mean that I'm willing to, and sadly I am, I don't ever want to be put in that position to where, hey, my Polish neighbor who's got his 2 little kids there and his blonde wife, he's got a loaf of bread and I don't. Sorry, motherfucker. You're going to try and stop me to come into your house and kick that door down and take what you have so I could survive. People don't understand that that's what they're going to need. And I don't think we're going to get to that point because they can't do it. They just can't.
Well, listen, my perspective on this is that I got to see the transition in the military, and Mike and I's service is separated by almost 2 decades. And
were you a Marine too?
No, I worked Intel for Team 2. So that's what I did. So I came in as an intelligence specialist, and that's what I wanted to do. And then I floated the program in 95, 96 called NSWAG, where they started assigning Intel to SEAL teams. So our experiences are a little bit different. I got to see from a support perspective, and Mike was field operations. So he got to go down range, but then I got to have experience in both. So I can give you kind of the admin experience where I'm sitting behind supporting combat and then actually going to the front lines and doing that before mentioned combat. And the interesting thing is the moment that they started making military people ambassadors, right? Ambassadors of hope. We go into Iraq and we start handing out care packages and handing out food. But what they don't do is pan to the left where we just fucking leveled, 30,000 people. It became politics. And we had to be seen, like in Vietnam, they created the propaganda. Here, the propaganda was forced. It was, you have to pretend that we're doing humanitarian efforts. And we weren't there for humanitarian reasons. That's not why we were there. So when they did that, it allowed politics to enter the military. And then the generals had to find new and creative ways to make the war look acceptable. But if you look at the death tolls from these conflicts, the United States, everyone's talking about Israel and going, holy shit, look what Israel's doing. It's like, are you kidding me? The United States has been doing that for the last 20 fucking years. If you look at the numbers, it's far supersedes what Israel is going through right now. And I'm not here to justify combat or not, but my point is that if we expect stateside troops to be battle hardened, combat ribbon, downranged, experienced warriors, they're not. These people are stateside, not programmed or built to do what we would expect them to do. So it's not going to be military. It's going to be sheriff's department versus city cops too. The sheriffs are constitutional based. They have always sided on conservative values. The city cops are going to be asked to do something. And then you expect the United States government to stop armed conflict in the United States. Well, that's bullshit, because you didn't go through the Watts riot. You didn't go through the Rodney King riots. You didn't go to the Chicago riots. You didn't go ahead and see what's been going on in every inner city, 37 of the top 50, and the murder and death that's happening between African-American kids right now. The government's not stopping. Why would they stop it if urban and suburbs goes after inner city? They're going to wait until it ends. And if anything encroaches upon federal government, they're going to hit you with a Reaper. You're going to get hit with a drone. It's not going to be some guy carrying an M16 or an M4. So I think when people say civil war, they need to stop and relax and realize that you're not going to fight the United States government. But we have to be concerned with the internal fighting of our constituents and our neighbors, like you mentioned. That's the thing we need to be fearing, because that vitriol is getting to a boiling point where it's going to clack off at some point. And I thought it was going to be J6. I told all my listeners, don't go down there. Don't do this. I'm getting texts from Secret Service right now telling me, Matt, this is what we're hearing. I got guys who are MARSOC snipers sitting on the building, Dom, telling me, you tell your people not to come down here. And on live, I'm getting texts. And the good ones told their listeners, and 57,000 people stayed out of that mess. But I expected that's when it was going to kick off. I thought some African-American kid was going to get beat up or killed. A white guy was going to get killed. And then all of a sudden we have race riots across America. But luckily it didn't happen.
No, I think you're right. Illinois is 90% rural, and it's just Chicago. You got Chicago, Peoria, Joliet, and the rest of it is it's farmland. And you got 12 million people in this state. 2.7 million are Chicago, Cook County, which is where it's at. And I'm in 5.8 million people. You're gonna just segment off Cook County. Those people are not going to go down to the rural areas because they're going to find themselves just completely fucking in a world of hurt. There's so many directions I want to wind up going with this. Just for fun's sake, I do look at other militaries out there. I don't care if we want to laugh at the Korean Army, North Korean Army, with how just bootstepping they are, and maybe they're throwing, using slingshots against you, and all this shit. Those guys, though, China, North Korea, other countries, take their shit really fucking serious. If this was, a cinematic 3-hour movie or whatnot, and like China or Russia or anybody else invaded the United States and had to face these TikTok dancing fucking men and women who serve, do you have any faith in our military compared to other countries right now?
Mike, you take it first, because you know me.
Yep.
I'm going to be on here for about the next 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah. No, and I'll keep it to ground. I'll let you have your Navy portion, because I know you explain that a lot better than I do. Roger. So if you want to talk just ground on ground, even though our military is not where I would want it, you still have enough combat power that you can put that against anyone else on land with the technology we have. They're not going to stand a chance. The only way that, if you want to go China on the U.S., the only way they might have a chance is if they throw all, and I forget how many people they actually have. Like, you get every one of them on there, and we literally just run out of ammo. We get our barrels so hot, we warp them that we can't use them anymore. That's the only time they're actually going to have a chance. But if you want to go just military on military, like, you're not going to get there. Yes, a lot of those countries have some really great special forces, but when you're talking about a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand guys, like, it's not going to make enough of an impact that you're actually going to overtake us. So, like, it doesn't matter what military it is out there. They can have little pinpricks where they're going to hurt us, but if we're going straight online, like, it's not going to happen. And then with what Matt's going to say, that's going to blow it out of the water. But, like, I don't have any concern with it. It's if the whatever administration that would happen in has the balls to do what we actually need and take off the handcuffs, that's what's really going to hurt us.
That's it. That's really it. It's all geopolitical at that standpoint. Here's the thing that people don't seem to understand. The United States Navy, hands down, it can take on every other Navy in the world. The entire world can decide, I'm going to go against the United States Navy, and they're all going to have attrition of 10-1 in the first battle. The United States Navy is the most lethal force on the planet. And I noticed you said, hey, Marines. Absolutely. Marines, I've spent a lot of time with them. Most of my good friends, whether it be recon or standard infantry, are amazing. But we don't even get to that point. You're not going to have a land war with China because we're not stupid enough to get in a land war in Asia. That's one of the most unspoken rules. The next is don't bring up abortion at the dinner table. But the thing that I would tell you is we have to be concerned with Chinese influence with taking over the South China Sea, the Sea of Japan. If they do that, then they get access to Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Sumatra. They have Australia, New Zealand, Diego Garcia. These are key shipping lanes that require us to access the Asian countries. And without that, that's really what Japan did. The first thing they did, a lot of people go, oh, well, they just attacked Pearl Harbor. Well, they did. They also attacked 27 other countries on the same day and expanded their influence and took over a very large landmass to make it very difficult for the United States to have control over shipping lanes. But our Navy is second to none. We have war-fighting naval groups that can fight a war for 6 months without refuel, without restocking of food, in any way, shape, or form, and they are completely autonomous from anything. People are talking about hypersonic missiles and all this bullshit. The United States Navy, you hit a carrier, you've got to deal with 8 other carrier groups. Good luck. So I'm not worried about that. Second, the best thing that we have is 3,000 miles of ocean on our left and our right. And logistically, they couldn't even get across the Guadalcanal and get through a harbor from France and England to go ahead and to do Normandy effectively, and it took them months of planning. And you want to travel and traverse the Atlantic and the Pacific and try to somehow bring an army over to the United States. They can't send up any bombers because we know about this. We have Sonus nets from Greenland Island to England that will pick up any of their subs. We have every one of their boomers on lockdown from Russia, all their inlets. There's just no way that anyone's going to attack the U.S. What I worry about is what Mike just said. Logistically, that the United States government will pull the switch if something has to take place where you have to take out a couple 100,000 people. Do they have the moxie to do it like they did in Japan? Probably not. And the second is a tactical nuke. And that's what scares me more than anything, or a chemical warfare type situation where they bring over a bug, where they bring over and they park a nuclear warhead. Luckily, there's certain programs and certain things that we have from a defense standpoint that can recognize the signature of small nukes and suitcase nukes that are running 24 hours, 7 days a week. They've tried to move nuclear fission material across our border before. These things get shut down. People need to understand is that it's going to be an economic issue. We have Ukraine and Russia right now, the two leading producers of food in the world, from a wheat productivity, from fertilizer to potash. They are in an open conflict. Africa is going to go into a famine state within the next 2 to 3 years. There's not enough food to supply. And that is where the next big war will be fought, will be Africa. And that's what we should be focused on. I know people are looking at Taiwan. They're looking at Ukraine. They're looking at Korea. They're looking at Iran. But the next big conflict will be fought over Africa. They are the number one most densely mineral-based countries in the world. They have some of the best exports. That is where we should be focusing our time, because it's the Middle East for the next 20 to 30 years.
It's going to be very interesting. Do you think, and this has always been my argument, and I really didn't plan on going military today, but we can go any direction out there. I have always said that I think it was the Vietnam War era when they started allowing reporters overseas to see what was going on. Was allowing media access the worst thing for the military? My thought is, I'm sorry, I want motherfucking savages fighting wars. I do want men who are willing to do like the Roman Empire did, and I'm not a big one of those saying, I don't talk about the Roman Empire. They were willing to kill every man, woman, and child. End of story. And sadly, people don't get war is eliminating your fucking enemy. Do you think that involving media relations was the beginning for weakening our military?
I mean, that's probably part of it, but for me, yes, it's media, but then also it's the access that everyone has now. Because right now, you don't need media there. Everyone's got a cell phone. You can live stream, and it's going to get out to the world in a second.
Except in Ukraine. Except in Ukraine, they don't have phones in Ukraine. That's why we don't get any footage.
Well, I mean, there is, but it doesn't actually get out there.
Look at the smile on my face. I'm laughing.
Oh yes, I love it.
But real quick, Mike, look at Israel and look at the amount of footage that's coming out of that versus Ukraine. It is kind of funny, don't you think, that somehow the civilian journalism is not in Ukraine, and we don't see these massive amounts of videos. But in the first 24 hours of Israel, we saw hundreds of thousands of videos hit the net. Can you, I just think about that and answer that if you could, since you've been over.
Yeah. So the reason why that happened is because when Russia came in, that is one of the first things they did is they knew the particular cell towers and networks they had to hit and then take over. So if you did want to pump that stuff, you had to pump it through Russian systems, and then they could turn it off.
Yep. Or
they just flat out denied the service. So, and that's the big reason why all of that was gone until old Papa Elon came in with Starlink, and then now it's basically unfettered. Like, there is some issues with once you get closer to the front, but yeah, now it's fairly good access. So yes, I think it's a combination of reporters coming in and actually letting people know what happened, but then I also think it's an overall, we don't have the quality of men that we used to have, to where they could go in and do that and like, you know what, I don't want to do this morally, like this is going to hurt, but guess what, for the good of my family and that they don't have to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do this and get it done. I think we've lost a lot of that.
You have it in law enforcement too. I cannot believe we're fast approaching 2024. And I want to say for a second, I only mentioned Marines, Matt, because that's what I would have been only qualified to do. Not downplaying Mike's responsibility or his service, but I scored a fucking 16 on my ACT. So my options, if I went in the military, were not going to be that big. You have the same thing here. It's 2024 in a matter of days. And we still have morons on the street as cops doing the somebody just sent me the other day, or yesterday, a video of a cop, passenger, two-man squad, and a biker's doing wheelies. I think it was L.A. sheriff, when the fucking cop is drawn down out of his window on the bike, and I'm like,
What are you gonna do?
how is this?
Yep.
How do we still have these people? And I started to feel this frustration when I got replaced. It took 3 cops to replace me, and I've got the picture, and I want to frame it so bad. They're children. They're fucking children in front. They look like they're wearing their dad's shirt. One is a girl who's maybe 5'2". The others, you have wrinkled uniforms, crooked tie bar. I'm like, this is what's on your fucking street? So I think we have a massive quality in both law enforcement and military lacking. But to hear what you guys broke down as far as how the war is going to be fought, I guess you don't need savages for the most part, because ultimately my position was with the mindset. If you eliminated all the technology, right, all the ammo, and it was pipes and knives and bats, a Jets versus Sharks rumble between the Chinese and us, I don't think today's American military can stand or withstand them. I don't think they have the mindset. That was my ultimate question based on what I see online. Because I know the cops, there's no fucking way the cops can handle them.
Yeah, it's a naval battle against China. It's not going to be man to man. It'll never get to that point. So once again, traversing in Columbus's day, 3,000 some odd miles of water was difficult. It hasn't gotten any easier. The amount that it takes to move. Now, sure, it has. I mean, you can go ahead and take a small vessel from point A to point B. That's not the point. You're talking about logistically moving 30 people from Spain to the coast of the United States was insurmountable at the time. Moving 30 million people is going to be just as insurmountable. You're not going to be able to hold these cities. You may be able to go ahead and come up through Mexico, which has its own challenges with the cartel, and you might be able to push into Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas and California. Fine. Then what are you going to do? You're going to go fight Los Angeles? You're going to go ahead and fight Dallas, Texas, Houston, El Paso, Corpus Christi? That's just Texas. Now the amount of weaponry that we have and the ammunition we have in the United States, there is no standing army that can even compete with that remotely. We are the most well-armed militaries in the world, and now we have the most well-armed civilian population in the world by hundreds. That's not the concern.
Where states allow, though. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's a good segue. I want to go this direction next, but first I want to plug the Dumb Show. I want to talk about what's happening at the border. Tell everybody, let's talk about the Dumb Show for a minute or two. What is it? Where can they listen to it, watch it, view it, consume it? What do you guys love to talk about? All that. Drop some knowledge on us.
So, Mike, you hit the Matt and Mike show, because I always fuck up the title, and then I'll cover the rest.
Yep. So the Matt and Mike show, we do that on Tuesdays, Thursdays. Matt will probably cover this, but we're pretty much anywhere and everywhere that you want to stream: Rumble, YouTube, Spreely, Twitter, like all the good things. But we like the morning show, it's a lot more loose. It's just kind of us going back and forth, but we'll pretty much hit anything and everything, like politics. We'll hit whatever video is trending. But what's probably a little bit different about our show is that we will also hit a little more of the mental health side, and just it's kind of like a therapy session for us for a lot of things. And then Matt, if you want to go into the
yeah, and the Dental Friendly show. So we've got a few hosts. We have Leroy. Leroy is currently military intelligence. He works for the United States Navy. He works for a few 3-letter agencies as well. Mike's background is I don't need to go into the specifics, but he's got a work in intelligence and in those areas that we're talking about. And then my AOR, I worked specifically from 1994 till about 2000, right before 2001 kicked off, and then worked in the civilian sector for the government and intelligence. So what we like to do is, in an unclassed fashion, and not be some of these idiots that sell their life fucking stories and write movies, and we'll talk about programs that are still classified today, because we really don't like the NSA crawling up our asses, even though they already do. We try to bring a civilian perspective to a very complex clandestine operation that is not 3 days ahead or 3 months ahead. We try to give you the what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. We're responsible for breaking a lot of the stories that came out of Ukraine and dismissing the fog of war, the ghost of Kiev, some of these stories that were completely ridiculous, because we knew that Ukraine didn't have a military and specifically an air force that could do these things. And we also knew that an Su-27 isn't going to accomplish a lot of those things against state-of-the-art MiGs. So adding that perspective, we've covered the stolen election and dismantled a lot of that, the J6 stuff. And I, as a conservative, have no loyalty to party. I don't believe in that. I'm sorry. I'm not some boot-licking, clicking, Heil Hitler automaton. I am a conservative because it is most aligned with my my current status in life, from my home to my finances to my personal beliefs. But if anyone thinks I'm going to carry water for the Republican Party, you're insane. I admonish politics, and I think that the founding fathers did too. And we should shed ourselves from treating these fuckers like sports teams and realize that they are not something to be admired. They put their pants on the same way, and they stuff their pockets on the backs of citizens. So our show tries to expose that. We try to show that if you're upset about Boobert and her titty grab and the 15,
I was jealous. You kidding me? That guy.
I had to watch it at least 300 times to really.
You got to get to that moment. It's like you got to hit refresh because it's like a 14-second video. Fucking, you got to do it again. Yeah,
exactly. But if that bothers you, that's fine. But it better bother you that a White House staffer is taking it up the ass and filming it. And if you don't point out both, not only are you a hypocrite, you're disingenuous to your better portion of who you are, your makeup, your honor, your integrity. So we try to point out the hypocrisy of both sides. We're very conservative. My wife's on the show. You'll see my kids on the show from occasion. You have Amy, who does real estate in Virginia, a very successful real estate agent. You have Mike. So we bring a different perspective, and we try to challenge the norm often.
That's why I like your stuff. It's the same thing. I get so many people on my social media where I voted for him, but he worked for me, Trump. I'll criticize his shit. And I cannot believe the amount of, I've never seen this worship, idolizing, deifying of a man ever. And that was, it's been an argument with Matt and I lately. I'm going, does somebody who vote for DeSantis, are they any less valued in this country just because they choose someone else? Well, Trump he's the only one who could save America. And if you put that on somebody, and I think I put this out there a couple days ago, if our stance is Donald Trump is the only one who can save America, then America's not worth saving. It's not worth saving.
We're fucked. What happens after Trump? If he doesn't win in 2024, that means America's over.
That's been my ultimate question, and nobody's been able to answer that one. So far, they've got us divided as conservatives, and I'm a libertarian. I don't give a shit what you do, who you worship, what you want to call yourself as. One of my co-hosts tomorrow sitting in is a trans woman, and she's a friend of mine. She's an adult star, fucking great person to come on, and we talk about all things conspiracy and whatnot. I don't give a shit what they do, what they say. It doesn't affect me. Yeah, you want to force it down kids' throats. Now I have a problem, but I also have a problem that all these self-righteous mama bears online have been like, I'm a mama bear. I'm going to do this. Well, if they're showing porn to your kids, why are you not tearing the shit out of every school board meeting and letting these, the people who sit on the board walking out with their teeth missing? You're not a mama bear. Shut up. Why have we, and this is what we saw in 2020, I was guilty of it, right? I didn't go out and campaign for Trump. I didn't go out and kind of get in my community. I didn't do anything. I sat back and said, Trump is going to take care of all of this. Why do we still believe now, 4 years later, that all people have to do is show up to a Trump rally, make fun of DeSantis and his heels, make fun of somebody else, all this stuff, which is the same shit Trump has been doing from day one. He mocks everybody. Why are we so, he's going to take care of all of this? When the dust settles, if he wins, if he doesn't win, if he retires, he's in his 70s, if he passes away of a heart attack between now and then, if they jail him, what are conservatives going to go at each other's throat now? Or who's going to be the one leading the charge? Because Daddy Trump was our savior, no?
They're going to jump like a flea off of a dog's ass and jump onto the next one. Mike, I want to get your perspective. You know my perspective on this, but I want to get yours.
Yep.
Give it up.
I got to do it real quick because I got to actually head to therapy real quick. Yeah, actually, one thing that you brought up with the mama bears, it reminded me of a video that I just saw to where a bunch of mothers were asked, would you kill for your child? And almost all of them said no. And I'm like, where in the fuck have we got to? that you won't do that for your own kid. It's like, I've got my nieces and nephews. If I get a phone call that they got hurt, cool. Getting on a plane, I don't care what prison I have to go to. Like, I don't understand how we got so far away from that natural instinct of these are our children or your family. They are innocent. You are here to protect them. And we have lost that protector mindset completely. And then, yeah, if I don't know what's going to happen after Trump, but people need to realize that that is the shittiest option that we have. And if that's all that we can put forward, like, we're already screwed. So I would love if we can get to a point where we actually have good, honest people who can make it to that level that we can actually get behind and actually have some morals and values. So I got to run real quick. Izzo, love it. Love the show. Thank you for being on. Matt,
Pleasure,
it's on you.
man. I'll talk to you soon. Gotta have you back on with both your legs.
Yep. You have fun.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll see you.
Hey, when you walk by my door in like 5 minutes, when you finally get here, I'll say goodbye. So Mike is, I recruited Mike because we go to first of all, you go to this diner, this breakfast diner. There's some articles on it. You can look it up here where I live. And we wound up saving it as a community. We're a town of 500, and we all put together and saved it during COVID because she was going bankrupt. Inside there, every alphabet agency, I eat breakfast every single, I sound like Jack. I eat breakfast 300,000 yards from Cubans who are trained.
Killed me, yeah.
We have the border patrol.
I should have wore a faggoty white shirt for you then today.
No, hey man, the black works too. So the head of director of border patrol sits next to us. We have State Department sit next to us. So when you walk into this diner, it's literally like every alphabet agency is represented because we're
safest place in America in that morning.
Totally, dude. Yeah. So we're right next to DC. So like everything, they all live here because none of them want to live in the shithole they created. To answer your question, this is the thing that I can just address quickly is Ron DeSantis was the great white hope at 9 months ago. It was supposed to be Trump and DeSantis on the ticket, an unbeatable ticket. And DeSantis was going to carry the football in 2028. That's what everyone said. It was going to be Trump in 2024, DeSantis in 28 and 32, and then, you know, Republicans would have a 12 to 16 year sweep of the White House. That's what everyone thought. And then it changed. This whole demagoguery that Donald Trump can do nothing wrong is baffling to me, because if you're truly loyal to somebody and you really care about their success, you will provide them the feedback necessary to be better. And if Trump can't hear any of these things and doesn't listen to anybody, then what you have is a narcissist. And I don't want anyone like that in the fucking White House. And I believe that Trump listens to some really bad people, and he has throughout his presidency. He is not doing anything that hasn't been done before. You have to listen to your administration. You have to listen to your staff. It's kind of like this show. If I just run it the way I want and don't listen to my followers, I don't listen to the people who are working on it with me, then ultimately it becomes so myopic in its design that success isn't going to take place. Nikki Haley, sure, she may have some differences of opinions. DeSantis may have difference of opinions than Trump, but we have to have a future for a party, because like you said, is if these fucking people don't put him in 2024, and let's face it, the chances of it happening are pretty slim and few and far between him actually winning. He doesn't have a path on the electoral map. I've broken it down. I'm very good at that type of stuff. And I predicted most of the races in 2020 and 2022. I have a very good accuracy. He doesn't have a path to victory right now. If that doesn't happen, where do we go from here? What do we want to see? Because it won't be recognizable, because there's going to be 2 Supreme Court justice seats open in the next 4 years. And if they do that, that literally changes this country forever. It only gives you a 1 vote seat in the SCOTUS, and that's where the real rubber meets the road. It's no longer legislation. It's, is it constitutional or not constitutional? And that is a very gray area in American politics.
Here's the problem with everything you laid out. It's dispassionate, and it makes sense, and it's rational. Both sides do not operate on rationale at all lately. They operate massively on emotion. Do I believe that there was some fuckery with the 2020 election? I do. I mean, I do. I listened to what was it? I think it was Arizona's panel, and they had on Dr. Who's the guy with three degrees from MIT? He's not a fan of Kennedy. He was him and Butarwin at it every now and then. I can't remember his name, but he was on there. They had this brilliant fiduciary who I'm not a math guy at all. I got to wiggle my toes to sit there and count out change. And this guy broke down things in so much of a clear way. It was an hour, 90-minute presentation on how there was provable voter fraud in specific states. So you got that. It wasn't allowed to go through, but now we're at just as bad as these street interviews when you have, the Mark Dices going up to people saying, so why don't you like Trump? Well, he's a racist. How is he a racist? And then they have no answer. It's the same thing with people on the right. Hey, how was the election stolen? Well, it was stolen. And then our only frame of like provable reference is the visual size of his rallies versus Biden's rallies. And yeah, that's a good handle, but it's not concrete, right? If you come up to me and say, hey, officer, my neighbor let his dog shit on my lawn and then shot my house up. And I go, how do you know? Well, he's always walking his dog past my yard all the time. Well, how do you know he did it? And how do you know that he shot it up? Well, he plays video games, and you put those two things together. It's, well, that's not enough evidence for me to do anything about it. So when we have both of those sides who are operating on pure emotion, not for nothing, what you just said doesn't fucking matter. They will not want to hear it, right? It's the same with the left, is always changing the definition of words. Now we know that what people don't get is how sad that Colorado Supreme Court decision was. Is I don't care if it's going to get overturned. I don't care if it's whatever. They don't see the danger on a local level where he hasn't been convicted of a crime, hasn't even been charged of it. They don't see how it's going to trickle down to, your neighbor's going to say, Matt raped me. And there's going to be zero investigation because the standard is set, but you're going to be indicted by a grand jury now, and you've never even met the person they're talking about. That's how severe it's going to happen. So when it comes to all that with both sides, how do you see us as a primal, living, breathing culture who is so polarized and divided, even listening to government when they say, no, guys, Trump literally, he's not allowed to be on the ballot, or he lost the election. If there's a legitimate election 2024, he loses, you're going to have this MAGA movement completely out of their fucking minds. And I don't know what they're going to do. How do you see that playing out if that happens?
So there's so much in this. I've the only conservative voice that I know that openly argues and fights the points of the stolen election vehemently and offers an alternative. I hear plenty argue it. I mean, Mark Levin tried after he told all of his people that there was a stolen election, and then they threatened his contracts and wanted to pull his funding. And then he said, oh, wait a second, let me go ahead and change the tune of that. But I have always stood by the fact that it was unconstitutional. And a lot of the things that you're seeing, whether it be Roe v. Wade or Obamacare mandates, these are things that are against the Constitution. The reason I know that is I carry this with me everywhere. I mean, these 3 books are the most important books ever written. And a lot of people go, well, the Bible is. Well, the Bible will get you there after these things are encroached upon. The Bible takes care of your soul. This takes care of you on the material plane, the non-ethereal type experience. And it's the Constitution of the United States. It's the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. These documents tell us that individualism is the single most important thing to our republic. But the problem is that democracy is a direct contradiction to that. It is mob rule. It is all about collective.
Mm-hmm.
We have a democracy in this country. A lot of people, we're not a democracy, we're a republic. Actually, you're wrong. We are. We elect based upon a democratic elected representative democracy. But our rules and our laws are based off of a republic, which focus on the individual rights. The only way we get back there is to recognize that what the government is doing is taking the Constitution of the United States, which was their restraint, was their handcuffs that stopped them from, betraying the American people, from usurping the American people's power, and saying the buck stops here. These rights are inherent, and we can challenge the government, but the Constitution is being used against us. So first, it starts with education, is to realize that it is not us and them. They aren't even in the same category. Politicians, in my opinion, the moment they put their hand in the Bible and they swear their oath, they're no longer human beings. They're no longer citizens of this country, because I believe their oath is not to Americans. It's to the almighty dollar. Everything that they do, and I don't hate politicians. Some of my best friends are politicians. I've got friends who who are state legislatures. Eli Crane, Navy SEAL. I know Eli personally. Brandon Michon, who ran for office. I've got people in Washington who I love and adore. I've sat and had breakfast with Kevin McCarthy. These people, I'm not name dropping. I do like them. But the moment that they put their hand and swear to the Constitution, they're openly lying, because 5 minutes after that, they're going to be fundraising for money, power, and votes. And money in politics has completely eroded the overall intent of government. So when you ask me, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix it? You're not going to fix it, because money is never going to leave politics. So what we have to start doing is stop relying on the federal government. It's not the law that's the problem. It's not Washington, D.C. It's that we think that changing out the president's going to make an impact. It's not.
I do not know why. I said it the other day. I have to start putting my money where my mouth is. So I started going to my village hall meetings. First time I've been this town since almost I was 2 years old, right? Left, come back, all this stuff. And I do not get how people think that Washington, D.C. is going to solve the problem that's going on in their state, their county, and their city. And it blows me away how it goes back to us shirking our responsibility of getting involved, because one man or woman who's in the White House is going to wind up solving all of our problems. I don't get it too. We saw that even the first 4 years of Trump being in office, he had Congress against him. He wasn't able to do all the stuff he wanted to do. Yeah, there's so, God, I wish this went way too fucking fast today. I need to go 90 minutes. We got a couple minutes left here. Go ahead. What's that?
Go to Boxcast and extend it for 30. You have the power.
We can. Yeah, but it cuts over into what's following us there. Yeah, somebody else. I think your replay. I think it would cut into the dumb show. So that's we don't do that.
Fine. I'm always willing to come on. I mean, this conversation is there's so much to get into it. Listen, you need to get involved in your local town, city, municipality. If you believe that your water bill, your electricity, your property tax, your child's involvement in the school system is somehow more important than something else or lack thereof, it's not. It is single-handedly the biggest change you can make is you going to city council, you being a county clerk, you being a sheriff. Find your voice. This is mine. This is what I chose to do. I chose to put $50,000 into this and create this show. You need to find what you can do. But if you just sit back and you post on Facebook or change your profile pic with a black fucking armband,
I'm helping.
You're not helping. You're actually hurting because you're checking a box that you don't give a shit. Two things I got to do. Hypersonic missile. Eric had a question. He said, what about the hypersonic missile? That thing takes about 4.5 minutes to be fired up, deployed, and fueled. We know with satellite tasking and also IFF signatures, when those things are gone, it moves really, really fast. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's really, really more lethal. Unless you put a nuclear tip on that, who gives a shit? The programs that the United States Navy have, I'm not going to tell you what they are well beyond CWIS, and the technology will shred that fucking thing from 100 miles away. Our over-the-horizon targeting is 10 times better than any other military. Second thing, you asked real quick, it says, how many suits does Izzo own? I don't know. That's his.
12.
Okay. And you said honor and integrity aren't around anymore. No, they're still here. People have changed the definition of what honor and integrity mean, and they've changed it to how many followers you have.
Right. That was yesterday. Don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to cut you off because I want you to plug your stuff. That was it yesterday. How come somebody with 1 million followers, their vote means more than somebody with 200 followers? And I can't fucking stand that. We got 60 seconds. Plug everything. Where can people support the Donor From Me show and the Matt and Mike show?
I don't ask for donations. I don't do that crap. We've got a clothing and all that stuff, whatever. Just at The Dumb Show. You can find us on Facebook, or you can go to thedumbshow.com. We're on Spreely. Dom, I want to thank you personally. You've been an amazing partner of mine, and the fact that you always are willing to help. I understand the tough exterior, but you got a heart of gold, man, and I love that. And I'll tell you, we've created this network to 250,000 people now, and we went from just a few hundred. Like you said, we had 4 people on our first live show. We're over 200,000 on Facebook. The podcast is in the top 3% in the entire world. We are really stoked. And guess what? We could be at 2 million. We never will be, because we don't kiss ass and we'll never lie to you. So watch Dom, watch us. We'd love to have you guys come on board.
You got to do the hashtag no homo when you say partner too. We're like that, but we're not like that. We could be.
I'm willing to learn.
Dude, you get a Mantovani record, couple of cigars, and a bearskin rug, and I'm fine with that one. The Dumb Show, Don't Unfriend Me Show, and Matt and Mike, make sure you check them out. They're on here on Spreely as well too. We love having them part of the network. It's fucking fantastic. We will have to have you back on. I love when shit flies, and I'm gonna have to call HR and say I'm gonna go to 90 minutes after January 1st because this is way too damn fast, guys. Tomorrow. Lola Christina's going to be sitting in with me. We're going to be talking probably about lizard people and the Illuminati and all this shit out there, because once she gets going, it's game over, man. She just talks about so much shit. I sit back and go, damn, it's ridiculous. All right, that's it. Make sure you go to rantsofizzo.com, share the show link. Remember, you want to get paid to share the show? Text 708-982-0974, share a show, and I'll give you information. And thanks for those of you who are patient enough to be waiting for that information. Have a great damn day. Go out and do something for somebody. And remember, if you can't help them, don't hurt them. Don't be a fucking cunt. End of story. Guys, have a great damn day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.